Coach, 2 losses last week, but a really, really hard-fought effort on Saturday at Ohio. Just recap last week for us.
Well, we had Ball State at home, and I think it was a 4-point game at halftime, and thought we did a pretty good job on Weber. Obviously, Jeremy Tyler popped his head up and played well and has continued to play well for them. But, it was one of those games I thought we were right there, and you get into the second half, and they make some shots and go on a little bit of a run. And quite frankly, from an offensive standpoint, we just couldn't answer it. We got into a point where we went through one of our lulls and struggling to score. And I think in many ways that was the difference, in the game, in that, you've got to be able to, answer the call. And we just couldn't quite do it, couldn't, make shots. I think we're 1 for 15 the entire game from three, and then Eric makes 2 late threes to give us, 3 for 17. But at the end of the day, you go 1 for 15. That's hard to overcome, and I thought we had some good looks, but just couldn't knock them down. And, of course, so they get the win. They've done a terrific job, and that team has played well here of late. And like I said, they're a team that's been able to go on the road and win ball games, and so kudos to those guys. And then, of course, Battle of the Breaks. OU, we went up there certainly a little bit shorthanded, to say the least. I think, my overwhelming thought when I walked away from that game is that the young men that were in that locker room competed their tails off. We certainly didn't get the win, but, when you go in a game like that and you're down in your numbers, you're trying to find a way to give your group the best opportunity to be successful, understanding that, foul trouble may be a death sentence for you. And, how are we going to survive? How are we going to be able to do some different things? And so, we did run into a little foul trouble there early in the first half. But, the overwhelming thought, the overwhelming sentiment, on the bench and even in the huddles was that group continued to have energy and continue to compete. So, we get down in the first half. In fact, with about 4 minutes to go, they have like 21 or 23 points, and they close out and end up with 41 points. So if you take a look at the last 4 minutes of the first half, they score 18 points, and that really hurt us. So they stretch it, and then we come out in the second half, and they stretch it a little bit more. And then lo and behold, we start coming back, and, you've got Dion, you've got Haruna, 2 young men who I think, as you go forward, the lights will be bright for them. They continue to work and get better. And in many ways, I think, as you watch them play and when G and Eric have been out on the game, at times they've sort of sat back. And I think, the one thing or a couple positive things is that they've got to continue to be aggressive when we have G and Eric in the game, because that helps us and that allows us to distribute the scoring throughout the roster. It makes us harder to guard. But, I thought Eric really took care of the ball, did a terrific job, 8 assists, 1 turnover in that game, and, got the ball to those guys. And, of course, as we make that run, we're able to make some shots. We make 8 threes that game, and the next thing you know, we cut it to a 5-point game. Unfortunately, we get a illegal screen at that time, and they come back down. And I want to say that Dardis hits back-to-back threes, which put them back up. But I thought we were right there, and I thought, we really, really had the right mentality, the right energy, guys sticking together, Brian Odo, Jake Bischoff, 2 young men who give us double-figure minutes that are both walk-ons. And so I thought there were some good things that, definitely came out of that game that will certainly help our team as we go forward here down the final stretch of conference play.
Talk about a hard-fought effort, and all of those guys that did dress really just giving everything they had. Haruna and Dion both with career highs in scoring, and then like you mentioned, Odo giving you a good 20 minutes and Jake Bischoff a nice 10 minutes. How do you use this heading into this week to kind of carry that momentum and kind of catapult you against Akron and Kent?
Well, I think one of the things that happens is those kids are confident now. It's funny. Confidence happens when you're involved in a game and you're able to have success and be productive. And so even yesterday in practice, they just seem different about themselves and playing and being in the game from the game, I should say. So, I think one of the things is you encourage it. You continue to encourage it. Hey, this is who you've got to continue to be. This is who you are. And I think too, they're both. It's taken longer than you want, but I think they're both starting to feel comfortable. And for Dion, who had played at Auburn, sat out last year and had a torn ACL, it's certainly taken some time. For Haruna, coming from junior college, having to adjust to the speed and the strength of the game and having to learn, there were some struggles. There were some bumps in the road, but, we've seen enough of them in practice, I think, as a staff to know that, these kids have ability. Dion certainly plays with a motor, energy, and really has to learn how to control it a bit, and so he doesn't get the bad fouls that he sometimes get. Haruna's understanding how you've always got to play the game low and you can't play the game standing straight up and down, and you've got to be in a ready position. But these are things that you expect, particularly for Haruna. In many ways, he's a 3-year junior college kid. He's like a freshman in many ways. As far as being at this level and getting everything, obviously he's been through some things at junior college, successful program he came from, and they had a lot of success last year, but it is different. And so, I'm really encouraged by, what those two have been able to do and how they have come along. And so hopefully they can continue that and can now just sort of grab the bull by the horns and show that as we get in game-like situations, because we need all hands on deck. That's certainly for sure. And and Marines say it all the time, just a few good men, and that's what we're looking for. We don't need to have 15. We just need a few good guys that are ready to go and ready to fight and compete.
Looking ahead to this week, it doesn't get any easier. The MAC
No.
leaders, Akron in here on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and then Kent State here Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Just preview the week ahead for us.
Well, I think you hit it on the head. It certainly doesn't get easier. This is a gauntlet that we have going down the stretch. Starting with Akron, I think they've been probably the most consistent team throughout conference play this year. And I would actually tell you Kent State's not far behind. They've had to deal with some injuries. But back to Akron, they're coming off a couple of losses. But they're a team that I think what separates them or makes them different, I should say, is when they go to the bench, they literally still have 5 guys that are capable of getting 20 points. All 5 guys that are on the floor. And so their depth is incredible. I know Forsythe's dealing with a little bit of an injury. Don't know if he's going to be available. But, you have Isaiah Johnson, you have Forsythe, you have Robotham, you have Jackson, you have Kretzer, you have McAdams. Well, I could keep going. And all of those players, every single one of them, Cheatham, every single one of them could give you 20 points on a night. And that's what makes them hard to guard. And the thing is that they're unbelievably unselfish as a group. They pass the ball, they move it. Keith's done a terrific job because I think in some ways as you look at their style, it's a little bit different than it has been. Certainly they're going to throw the ball inside, but the shooting, they shoot 33s a game. They're making almost 13. They're right at 40%. So you're talking, almost 39 points, 36 points a game that are coming from the three-point line of their 77 and knocking their free throws. They're averaging 50 points just from those 2 spots. And so when you have that inside presence, that's what really, really makes them difficult because they're going to stretch the floor. And then when they throw it inside and what particularly Isaiah Johnson's been able to do and really patient. He's a good passer. He's a willing passer. He puts a lot of stress on your defense. And then, of course, you turn around and you go to Kent, which in many ways, in some ways, is a little bit opposite in that they're going to pound you inside. And I would have to say that after having the injuries that they've had, and for them to be able to get that group back together and for them to be where they are, it's been really, really impressive to watch. They're going to be physical. They're going to be tough. They're going to challenge your manhood. And you know they're going to get the ball inside. And quite frankly, it's coming in there. Are you man enough to stop it? And then they know who they are. And they play the game in a rugged manner. They rebound it. They challenge you on the glass. And they go at you. And, you know, obviously they beat Akron and shot the ball incredibly well and really just went at them. And so, you know, those two teams are battling right now. And, of course, they've got another game left, which will be up at Akron. That's a game I'd probably pay to see. I'd buy a ticket and go sit and watch that because I think that'll be a fun game to watch. But they're a very good basketball team, and it's done in a little bit. It's not. I should say this. It's not done in the manner we see it done a lot of times in this day and age. All the threes and everything else. It's almost more of an old school approach and pounding inside and being able to knock down some threes here and there and everything else. But I have a lot of respect for them. I have a lot of respect for both opponents coming in, and they're the type of teams that if you're not ready to play, they can bury you in a hurry.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck this week.
Thanks, Ange. Appreciate it.